Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's just a couple of days before Christmas, so Merry Christmas if you don't hear from us between now and Christmas.
Oh, we're going to be recording on Christmas Day, too, Tom.
Absolutely. Yes, we don't take holidays here in Taiwan. Christmas is a day that we're supposed to work here in Taiwan. It used to be Constitution Day or something like that.
I remember.
But they shuffled the holidays around a couple of years ago, so now we all have to work on Christmas Day. But that's okay. I like making the extra money. But yeah, while we're here on the 23rd of December, we're going to be talking about a high school student who has had a research project which is trying to curb malnutrition. It's trying to stop people from not getting enough vitamins. In other words, she's trying to get them to be more healthy.
She's a pretty smart lady. Her name's Lillian Peterson. And in her sophomore year in high school, she came up with a computer program that's able to analyze satellite imagery of crops or fields of food that farmers are growing around the world. It's pretty impressive, I must say. So she loves science, and she used her computer programming skills to come up with something that can be very beneficial for the world. We're going to talk about her research project and how she did this, what kind of money she was awarded, and where she is now.
Okay, so let's get to it. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson, and then we'll come back to discuss it.
"17-year-old Lillian Peterson recently won a $250,000 prize for her exploration into crop prediction as a method of curbing malnutrition. It was after years of witnessing the effects of malnutrition on her 3 adopted siblings that Peterson, now a high school graduate, undertook her project. In her sophomore year, Peterson devised a computer program that analyzes satellite imagery of crops. The program anticipates which crops will yield healthy harvests and which won't, based on the colors of the satellite imagery. Having access to known crop data in the U.S., Peterson was able to test her program locally first. Upon ensuring its accuracy, she began applying it to farms in Africa, where she successfully predicted crop yields. Peterson's goal, in her own words, is to find a way to help aid organizations monitor crop conditions as droughts evolve. This would help them respond quickly to food crises, to help children so that they don't face malnutrition and lifelong consequences. Peterson is now on track to achieve her objective. Not only was her research published in Remote Sensing, a peer-reviewed scientific journal, but she was also invited to present her findings to the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the International Food Policy Research Institute. Peterson secured the grand prize in the 2020 Regeneron Science Talent Search. The competition's mission is to enable students to tackle formidable scientific issues and develop the skills needed to solve future dilemmas. Entering the contest each year are thousands of students contending for $3 million in prize money. The 3 lucky winners, chosen from 40 finalists, also have their work showcased on the international stage. Peterson is now a student at Harvard University, one of the world's most esteemed learning institutions, where she's persevering in her work to permanently end malnutrition.
Okay, let's get to it. We're going to talk about a high school student. I think she's already graduated now, but we're talking about something that she did when she was a high school student. And, you know, like all high schools, they oftentimes have these projects that you have to do. In this particular case, it was a research project. And this particular research project that she has done and that she's continuing to do is aiming to curb malnutrition. So in this title here, we've got the word curb, which as a verb means to basically limit something or to reduce it, to make it go smaller or get smaller in size or quantity. And so she wants to curb, she wants to reduce malnutrition. Malnutrition, of course, is when you don't get enough nutrients in your diet, not enough calcium, not enough iron, that can cause health problems.
Yeah, this is a great achievement on her part. I was just reading that this particular prize is the nation's, referring to the United States, oldest and most prestigious STEM competition. STEM, of course, is for the science fields. What is it? Science, technology, electronics, engineering. Machinery?
Mathematics.
Mathematics.
Yep.
Wrong. You can tell I never was in the STEM field, one of these STEM fields at least. I was in arts, of course. Anyway, she did a really impressive job here because she came up with a computer program when she was in her sophomore year in high school. Now, if you're curbing something, like Tom said, you just kind of reduce it. We have curbs on our streets and roads. If your car tire hits the curb, you've gone too far because that's the start of the sidewalk. I wonder if curb, as we use it to talk about, the part where the sidewalk starts in the road, if it's meant to reduce the speed of the cars, if they go over and hit the curb, it's going to stop them at some point. Yeah. Anyway, if you curb something, guys, like Tom said, you reduce it. She's hoping they can eliminate or get rid of malnutrition entirely.
That's right. So that's the subject of her research project. And let's talk about this person herself. 17-year-old Lillian Peterson recently won a $250,000 prize for her exploration into crop prediction as a method of curbing malnutrition. So, yes, she got a prize for this competition or for this research project. A prize, of course, is something that you win. It could be money or it could be a present or something. It could be a trophy, maybe a blue ribbon or something. But in this particular case, she won a lot of money, $250,000. And why did she get that much money? Why would somebody be willing to pay her so much money? Well, she figured out a way to explore crop prediction. It's for her exploration into crop prediction. Exploration, of course, is the noun for when you explore something, when you go someplace or you read about something in order to know more about it.
That's right. It says here she had witnessed or seen for herself the effects of malnutrition on her 3 adopted siblings. Now, if you have a sibling, it just means simply you have a brother or sister. Of course, these are adopted brothers or sisters we're talking about. And it sounds like they came from an area of the world where they didn't have enough food to eat. So that when they started living with the Peterson family, she could see that these kids that they had adopted, her parents had adopted, were suffering from malnutrition, not having enough food or not having the right kinds of foods. If you don't have enough vitamins and minerals, you can also suffer from malnutrition. So even if you live in an area of the world, but you don't eat, a well-balanced diet, you can still suffer from malnutrition. So be careful if you're just eating, convenience store food all the time or going to fast food joints. So this was something that she'd thought about for a long time. It says here she's now a high school graduate. She undertook her project. If you undertake something, it just means you start doing something. And usually we use undertake to talk about projects or assignments that we have at school or work, to undertake something or to carry out. That would be another verb phrase you could use, to carry out her project, to undertake, to start, and then to keep going on her project.
Yeah, I could say, for example, I'm going to undertake a new research project for my company. We're going to do some market research or something like that. We're going to undertake that project or that task or whatever. So, yeah, that's what she has done. At least she was a high school student. when she undertook that project. But now she's a high school graduate, which means she has graduated from high school and she's ready to head off to Harvard, as we're going to find out in a couple of seconds here. But in the next paragraph, it says, in her sophomore year, Peterson devised a computer program that analyzes satellite imagery of crops. So when you go to high school and university in the United States, each year is given a specific name: freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior for both high school and university.
Yeah.
So yeah, when she was in her second year of high school, in her sophomore year, she figured out, she devised, she came up with a computer program that takes a look at satellite imagery, pictures from space, from a satellite, pictures of crops on the ground, like corn, rice, wheat. There were pictures that were taken by cameras in a satellite, and she had a computer program that took a look at those pictures.
I think it's interesting to look at the verb that we're using when we talk about someone writing a computer program. If you look up devise, sometimes you'll see invent, plan. But with computer programs, guys, usually we talk about someone devising or writing. If you write a computer program, we understand that you're the one who came up with the code. So for you computer brains and computer geniuses out there, you're writing computer programs. So the program that she wrote or came up with or devised anticipates which crops will yield healthy harvests and which won't. If you anticipate something, guys, it means you're looking forward to something that you expect to happen. Maybe you are looking into the future because you think your project might have some trouble, depending on what you're planning to do. Or maybe you're anticipating that you really did well on your math test and you're just waiting for that score to tell you you're right. So you're anticipating that score being very high. So you can anticipate, it just means to expect or kind of predict something without having all the information. You're just taking a pretty good guess, but it's something you're thinking that's probably going to happen. You expect it to happen.
Right, and of course that program will make a prediction or anticipate which crops will have healthy harvests and which ones won't, and that is based on the colors of the satellite imagery. So somehow if you look at those pictures, you can tell which crops are going to be healthy and which ones are going to fail. That would be very good information for farmers to know so that they can decide whether it's worth it to harvest their crops or just say, screw it, we'll just do it next year. Okay, well that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 高中生 Lilian 研究设法解决营养不良。标题中动词片语 aim to 表示目标瞄准 curb 是动词控制或遏阻 malnutrition 营养不良。第一段大意17岁的 Lilian Peterson 她赢得25万美金，因为探索农作物预测来抑制营养不良。这是好几年目睹营养不良对他3个被领养的手足的影响。That Peterson 就着手进行他的研究。第二句 It was after years of... that Peterson 这句呢是个分裂句型。It was 加原来句子中的时间副词，表示强调这部分好几年的目睹营养不良。That 之后的 Peterson 才是主词。Undertook 着手，原型是 undertake undertook her project 着手她的研究。第二段第一句是高二的时候 Peterson 呢设计了电脑程式分析农作物影像，会预估哪些会健康的收成或哪些不会。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about Lillian Peterson, a young girl who wrote a computer program that can analyze satellite imagery of crops. So we've got lots of satellites in space, right? They're busy taking pictures all the time, and we have access to some of those images or imagery, and she's looking at pictures of crops or farms where things are grown. Farmers have crops of wheat, corn, just lots of different things. And she's trying to help curb or actually eliminate malnutrition. And her program, her computer program, is able to anticipate or predict which crops in those particular pictures look like they'll yield healthy harvests and which won't. To yield just means to produce that thing. We often use the verb yield when we're talking about farming and crops. It just means you're going to produce that amount or you're providing that. So she's looking at these pictures, and her computer program can actually predict or anticipate, that's our vocabulary word, which crops are going to be successful and which probably aren't.
Yep, but that's all based on the colors of the satellite imagery.
Yeah.
Imagery is just a general term for a bunch of pictures all together. You could say images as well.
But don't say imageries.
Yeah, don't say that. That's weird.
It's a word like information. You can't put an S on it.
Yes, even though you can count those individual pictures, still imagery is a non-count noun. So yeah, don't say imageries. That's weird. It's insane. It's crazy.
Bad.
It's something we don't do. And having access to known crop data in the U.S., Peterson was able to test her program locally first. So she had access to some information. If you have access to something, you can get at it, okay? It's not limited to someone else. You can get that information. So she had access to that. Sometimes when you're checking into a hotel, you want to know if you can have internet access. Do you have Wi-Fi here? Or do you have a business center that has computers with internet access? And so here she had access to data or information, and she was able to test her program locally where she was. I believe she graduated from Los Alamos High School in New Mexico there. So yeah, she could test her program there where she lived when she was in high school.
Right. So upon ensuring or after she was able to make sure that her predictions were accurate, she began applying it to farms in Africa, where she successfully predicted crop yields. So she used the crop data right there in her home country of the United States. And then once she figured out that her computer program was really quite accurate, she began to look at imagery from farms in Africa. So it's kind of cool. Upon ensuring just means the moment she was able to make sure something was accurate. You could also say after ensuring its accuracy, she began applying it to farms in Africa. So Peterson's goal, in her own words, and when we use that phrase in her own words, means the words that follow will be a quote. A quote is simply words that someone said exactly. So she said this, quotation mark there. She wants to find a way to help aid organizations monitor crop conditions as droughts evolve. Monitor just means to track something closely, and drought is when you don't have enough rain or water, and people suffer from droughts. Notice it's a weird pronunciation, drought. But that's how we say it. These droughts evolve. So she was checking out to see if they'd have enough rain for those crops to actually be, successful or produce enough yield for the people.
Yep, she wants to help those aid organizations or those organizations that try to help people out. And so that way they can monitor those conditions of the crops when we have droughts and when they proceed and when they continue over a summer, they can get that information and help the farmers on the ground. Now, this would help them respond quickly to food crises to help children so that they don't face malnutrition and lifelong consequences. So I guess, again, this is in her own words here. She wants to help those aid organizations respond quickly to food crises, when there is a crisis or two crises or more in different areas. Hey, she wants those aid organizations to help out those children so that they don't have to face malnutrition. In other words, they can get enough vitamins and minerals in their diet, and also they don't need to face or deal with lifelong consequences. Of course, when you're young and you suffer from malnutrition, it could change you and you'll have those problems for the rest of your life. So it's important not to have those problems when you're young so you can live a full, healthy life.
So she is on track or doing well. She's doing everything she wants to do to achieve her objective. If you get off track, you're not doing what you need to do to achieve your goal. Not only was her research published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal called Remote Sensing, but she was also invited to present her findings to two prestigious organizations, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the International Food Policy Research Institute. Cool. That's really cool for her. Now, Peterson secured the grand prize in the 2020 Regeneron, that's a pharmaceutical company, Regeneron Science Talent Search. A lot of companies put up prize money to encourage young people or just, people who are coming up with great ideas to, give them funding so they can continue on. The competition's mission is to enable students to tackle formidable scientific issues and develop the skills they need to solve future dilemmas. It's really great. I love when they encourage young people, the next generation. Now, this word formidable, or it could be pronounced formidable, they're both correct. It just means kind of inspires respect. Sometimes it inspires a little bit of fear because something ahead of you looks really impressive or large or intense. Maybe you have a formidable professor who is kind of scary to you, but kind of makes you want to do better because you don't want to let that professor down.
Yeah, you could have a formidable opponent in a basketball game, for example.
Tough to beat.
It's kind of scary and hard to beat them. So, yeah, she wants to tackle those formidable scientific issues and develop the skills so that they can solve future dilemmas or future problems. And entering the contest each year are thousands of students contending for $3 million in prize money. So, lots of students in high schools in the U.S. and maybe some other countries, they contend for this prize. So the verb to contend basically means to compete for something, to contend for, and then if you're talking about the person you're against, you could say contend against somebody or contend with. For example, maybe you have some back taxes. You need to contend with the IRS, because they're coming for you and they're going to want you to pay taxes. So yeah, lots of people are competing for this prize money. That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, the 3 lucky winners were chosen from 40 finalists, and they also showcased their work on the international stage. Now, Peterson is currently a student at Harvard University. She would have the kind of background that Harvard would love to see in their students. Harvard University, as you know, is one of the world's most esteemed learning institutions. When it's esteemed, it just means it's highly respected, highly admired. Another word for that is prestigious or prestigious. There are 2 pronunciations for that word. Where she is currently persevering in her work to permanently end malnutrition. To persevere is a great verb, guys. It just means you keep working hard no matter what the obstacles are in front of you. You won't give up. You just keep going even though it's a really tough road you're on or you have some really tough goal, but you don't give up. You don't quit.
Lots of our lovely students are persevering in their studies to get better grades and learn better English, and we have the most amount of respect for you. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.
接着第3句，而获得这些已知的数据，使他能够在当地测试自己的程式。一旦确定，他便应用在非洲农场。请到第3句。Having access to known crop data. Access 途径 Have access to 加名词表示使用或接近某事。这里的 have 写成 having 是省略连接词和主词 Peterson， 动词 has 改写成 having 的分词构句。 第4句 Upon ensuring his accuracy, upon 加 V-ing 是一怎么样就怎么样的意思。Upon 是介系词哦，后面要加名词，所以动词加上 ing 变成动名词。Ensure his accuracy 确保它的准确性。Ensure 确保这个字后面通常加事情，确保某件事。另外相似字 assure A-S-S-U-R-E 也是担保。接着我们到第3段，第1句Peterson 的目标以他的话来说，是在干旱形成的时候，找个方法来帮助监控作物的状况。第1句后面的副词子句 As droughts evolve As 当连接词，表示当或随着。动词 evolve 逐步形成。当旱灾形成的时候 evolve 后面还可以加上 into 名词，表示变成某个状态。后面这会帮助应对粮食危机，因此呢就不用面对营养不良咯。Peterson 现在正朝着实现自己的目标前进。最后一句，他的研究不仅发表在科学期刊 Remote Sensing， 而且还受邀呈现他的发现给美国农业部。这句用 not only but also 对等连接词连接2个句子。第1句 not 否定副词放句首，该句的主词和动词要写成倒装。be 动词 was 先写，再来主词 her research， 其余的部分不动。But 后面的句子则不倒装。中间提到的 Remote Sensing， 这是杂志，一本学术期刊，专注在地理学科相关研究。接着 Peterson 获得了2020年再生源科学奖。第1句动词 secured the grand prize， secure 表示获得。第2句，这比赛的宗旨是让学生能够应付棘手的科学议题，并发展困境所需的技能。 To enable 人 to V 表示使谁做什么事，这里接了 to tackle 以及 to develop the skills 这2个动作。 To tackle formidable scientific issues， tackle 对付，所以后面经常接 problem 或 difficulty 这些字。 Formidable 难对付的，现在 COVID-19 在全球的现象就是一个 formidable issue。 每年呢有上千名学生参加争夺奖金。第3句将 entering the contest 搬到句首，形成倒装，先写动词 are， 再接主词 thousands of students， 后面再接 contending 比赛，现在分词修饰学生 contend 竞争。最后一段说 Peterson 现在是哈佛的学生，在这里持续他的研究。好，后面的动词 persevere 可以接介系词 in 或 with 来表示在某方面的持续。以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you will be inspired by the story of Lillian Peterson. I know I am, and even though I'm advanced in age, I could still be inspired by this and try to change the world for the better. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.